Good day, everyone. So, for today's video, we are going to continue our discussion. So, we are going to tackle about Kingdom Protista or Subkingdom Protozoa. So, when we say Kingdom Protista or Subkingdom Protozoa, it is a group of single-celled eukaryotes, either free-living or parasitic, that feed on organic matter such as other microorganisms or organic tissues. So, the kingdom Protista or some subkingdom Protozoa are uncellular, microscopic, animal-like organisms. These life forms provide materials to understand the basic life, activities or multicellular animals. They occur in all types of habitats. Many are parasites, other are free-living, some are solitary, and other are colonial. So, ang kingdom protista di ay is animal-like protista na siya. Um, are uncellular and microscopic animal-like organism. So kanina sila is kuhanin sila mga animal organisms. The life forms provide materials to understand the basic life activities of multicellular animals. Muna siya, gatakol siya about sa mga basic life activities of the animals. They occur in all types of habitats. Many are parasites, other are free-living. So, free-living and solitary colonial. So, there are common group of protozoans. So, phylum Sarmotigophora, subphylum Mastigophora, class Zomastigophora, subphylum Sarcodina, class Lobosia, phylum Apicomplexa, class Porozoa, and phylum Celiophora. So, phylum Sarcomastigophora is locomotory structures are either flagella or Pseudophodia, usually with only one type of nucleus, no spore formation. Phylum Sarcomodigophora belongs to the Protista or Protoctista kingdom, and it includes many uncellular or colonial autotrophic or heterotrophic organism. It is characterized by flagella, pseudopodobia, or both. Ang phylum Sarcomastigophora. So, there are three characteristics of phylum Sarcomastigophora. Number one is nucleus is one of type except in the stages of certain foraminifera, locomotory organ, either pseudopodia or flagella. Spawn formation is absent. There are about 8,500 living species of flagellates in phylum Sarcomastogophora. So imagine, daghan kayo ang species nga naa sa phylum Sarcomastogophora. Ang species is ang naa sa living species is 8,500 kabuo. So next is subphylum Mastigophora. So class Mastigophora is moved by means of flagella. Singular flagellum, predominantly parasitic. So, class Zomatigophora is a phylum within the kingdom Protista. And then, is a phylum within kingdom Protista. Organism within this group have a spherical elongated body with a single central nucleus. A class or a taxonomic group belonging it to subphylum Mastigophora that includes colorless heterotrophic flagellate protozoans. So mauni ang class Zomatis So next is subphylum Sarcodena, moved by means of pseudopodia, singular pseudopodium present, free-living or parasitic. So ang subphylum Mastigophora Sarcodena is uh, a taxonomic group within phylum Sarcomastigophora. It includes the amoebas, Heliotozoan, the radiozoa, and foraminifera, which are characterized by their ability to move by cytoplasmic flow or by pseudopods. And next is uh, class Lobosia. Pusopodia for movement and food gathering, usually unisclate, most are living, some parasitic. Ang class Lobosia is a superclass Rhizopoda through amoeba, Nick without rust, test or shell, swallow water, substrate, living, feed on other protists and bacteria, engulf food by phagocytosis. And next is phylum Apicomplexa. Phylum Apicomplexa is cilia and flagella absent, except on certain reproductive stages. Cysts often present parasitic with apical complex used to penetrate host cell. So, ang phylum Apicomplexa are characterized by having an apical complex. It is a special organelle that appears a conical structure. Next is class Sporozoa. Spores or oocytes that are typically present contain infective sporozotes. Flagell present only in microgametes of some groups. Phytopedia ordinarily absent. If present, they are used for feeding, not for locomotor, have life cells involving one of two hosts. Next is phylum Scleophora. Cilia are ciliary organelles present at least one stage of life cycle. Has two types of nuclei. Most species are free-living, many are commensals, and some parasitic. So the objectives is to study the cellular organelles of our protozoans, to study the characteristic features of protozoans, and to classify representative protozoans with different modes of living. Next is, we are going to tackle the parazoans and simplest metazoans. So, kingdom Animalia or phylum Cridaria. Hydroids, gillies, corals, and sea anemones. Eumetazoans are multicellular animals that have through tissues organized for a specific function. The simplest forms of metazoans include the cnidarians. They exhibit radial function. The simplest form of metazoans include the cnidarians, wherein body parts are arranged around the oral arboreal axis. They are diplobastic organisms with two germ layers, the ectoderm and epidoderm, but a mesoderm may also be present in some mycelia. A gelatinous matrix is found in between the layers. The sacral body is closed at one end and open at the other end. Their unique characteristic is the presence of stinging cells called cryptocytes with stinging organelles, the nematocytes. These organisms live solitary or in colonies. Dimorphism is exhibited in having individual types that are attached, called polyp, with the free-swimming body form is called medusa. Colonial types have a alternation of sexual and asexual generation. They are classified into class Hydrozoa, class Cyphozoa, class Anthozoa, and class Covozoa. So class Hydrozoas can be found in both marine and freshwater habitats. Uh, and class Cyphozoas through jellyfish. So, ang class Hydrozoa is nana siya sa freshwater habitats. Then, ang class Cyphozoa is mga jellyfish na siya. Then, ang class Anthozoa is colonial or solidarity. And class Cubozoa is all marine, also called a box jellyfish. So, ang objectives is to study and compare the characteristic feature of poriferans and cnidarians, and to describe the structural textures of representative animals under this phyla. So, ang phylum Porifera is obtain and observe a dried sample of Venus flower basket, touch the glassy skeleton of silicon that characterizes class Insectanilida, examine the base of available sponges. Are they attached to some objects or do they show evidence of having been attached? Number 2 is canal system of the sponges. Examine previous slide of Grancia under LPO. Move the glass slide to identify the following: ostia, incurrent canal, and sponge coel. Ang ostia o spores that serve as incurrent openings. Ang incurrent canal is water route to the sponge coel, and the sponge coel is gastral or internal cavity. So, ang phylum Cnidaria is examine a prepared slide of hydra o solitary hydroid under LPO of compound microscope or under the dissecting microscope. Identify the following parts and label your drawing. Basal disc is for attachment to the substrate. Hydrat is oral end of the point bearing the mouth and tentacles. Then hypostome is conical elevation containing the mouth part. Tentacles is contains cryptocytes. Bud is asexually product outgrowth. Obelia, a colonial hydroid. Examine a prepared slide of Obelia, note the external feature and individual polyps of the colony. Identify the following. Parasarc is the transparent protective tube that encase the Cynorasarc. Basal disc for attachment for the substrate. Hydrant, oral end of the polyp bearing the mouth and tentacies. Hypostome is conical elevation containing the mouth part. Tentacles contains cnidocytes. Bud is asexually produced outgrowth. Number 4 is Obelia. Obelia is a colonial hydroid. There are 5 types of Obelia: the Parasarc, the Hydrotricha, the Cynosarc, the Gastrizode, and the Ganzoid. A Parasarc is a transparent protective tube that encase the Cynosarc. Ang Hydrodria is bell-like Parasarc surrounding the hydrant. The Consarc is the living tissue surrounded by the Parasarc. The Gastrizode is polyp specialized for feeding. The Ganozoid polyp from where most of those are derived. Number 5 is coral. The coral is, there are 2 types of coral, which is corallite and septa. The corallite is cup-like structure that houses the polyp, and the septa is landward extension of the body wall that divides the gastral cavity. And then, jellies or jellyfish, number 6. Observe a fresh preserved specimen of a Cyphozoan. Identify the following parts and label the diagram in the worksheet. Bill or umbrella gonad reproductive structures, tentacles, oral arms, mouth, oral opening, exoderm, massages, the thick and the glacitus and the fibrous layer. endoderm, stomach, radial canal runs from the stomach, pouches to the bell margin, and since organs. So next, we're going to uh, look at the pictures below. This pictures is sponge spicules. So, sponge spicules is na siya yung mga drawing na siya. Then, na-class hydrozoa, class calcarea, mo na siya, class anthozoa. And then, next is lower invertebrate metazoans. Introduction. Flatworms are members of phylum Platyphyleminthes. They exhibit bilateral symmetry and assummate organization. So the classification of phylums, Phyhelminthes. There are four, which are four of six. The class Turbellaria, class Trematoda, class Cystuda, class Phasmidia, and class Aphismedia. Ang class Turbellaria is monoecious, mostly free-living with dilated body surface. Ang class Monogyzena is monogenitic flocks ectoparasites on skin or scales of fishes. Then ang class Trematozoa is digenetic flocks with suckers and are endoparasites on man and other vertebrates. And class Cystuda is tapeworms exhibit strobilation or parasitic. Class Phamadia has paired glandular or sensory pouches called phasmids in tall region. And class Aphasmedia is phasmids are absent, usually will develop. Phylum Platyhelminthes. Platyhelminthes is Turbellarian. Examine a prepared slide of Dugizan using a stereoscopic microscope. And then there are four type of Turbellarians, which is aerosol, eye spots, pharynx, and gastrovascular cavity. Ang aerosol is pair of lateral ciliated chemosensory positions at the posterior limit of the head. Ang eye spots is light sensitive organ at the level of the articles. And then the pharynx is muscular prosthesioidal tube housed in a spacious pharyngeal cavity that lies on the midline at the center of the body. Then ang gastrovascular cavity is the entire trunk of the intestine. Number 2 is trematodes. Trematodes is Christosan zaphonism or Christosama zaphonicum. Examine a prepared slide of blood flock under the LPO. Determine whether the specimen viewed is a male or female or an adult. Worms are copula. Observe the distinguishing feature between the sexes or sexual dimorphism. Male is a larger than the female. So, diri is kuan siya mag-examine ta of blood flock under the LPO. Ang atong i-view ang specimen or kung sa male ba ni siya or female or adult worms in copula. So, oral sucker is found at the narrow anterior and surrounding the mouth at the distal end. So, makita ni siya sa tango sa distal, ay sa baba sa distal end. The ventral sucker is posterior to the intestinal glorification. Then B is Glomerachis sinemicis is observed a prepared slide of Glomerachis sinemicis. Dayon C is Fasciola gigamagnetica is secure a slide of Gigantica. Dayon next is Cestodes, the tapeworms. The tapeworm is more highly adapted to parasitic life than the flocks. This is characterized by the absence or loss of digestive tract. Next is Colex is bear, bear the suckers an organ for attachment at the head region. Rostilium is circle of hooks. Neck is region just below the head. Uh, Proglottids, linear series of sets of reproductive organs. The anterior and posterior ends are marked externally by grooves. Ang strobila is chain of proglottids that consist the bulk of the body. Next is intestinal roundworm. Roundworm, which is an intestinal parasite of vertebrates like man. Pig, horse, and dog. Muna siya ang mga intestinal parasites. Ang mga pig, ang mga iro, kabayo ug ang baboy. Position the specimen in a pan. Note the general shape of the body. Locate the mouth at the anterior end and the anus of the posterior end. So ato siyang i-locate from the body to the mouth to the anterior end of the gikan sa baba ato i-locate paingon sa lubot. And then sa anus. And then at the posterior end, a scars is Gushous and it exhibits sexual dimorphism. Mature males are smaller in size. So ang mga mature nga mga male, ang mga lalaki, mature nga mga lalaki nga mga hayop is smaller size. And the female is larger in size and has tapering posterior end. Locate the female genital pure vulva at the mid-ventral surface. Make the necessary drawings of the internal morphology. Then cuticle is non-cellular body covering. Then ang longitudinal muscles is the only muscle layer in nematode that, unlike other organisms, have the cellular muscle layer to an antagonize that effect of the longitudinal muscles. Thus, the cuticle serve this function. Ang intestine is composed of a single layer of cells. Ang lumen of the intestine is cavity of the intestine. Ang pseudocoelium is false body cavity. Ang gonads is mature sex organs. Ang trachea worm is secure a prepared slide of the tracheal spirals inserted in the skeletal muscle tissues. Then ang whipworm is one of the most common gastrointestinal worm parasites of humans. As the name implies, this worm looks like a whip. Number 4 is vinegar eel. If a specimen of vinegar eel is available, compare it Compare its structure with that of the other nematode samples available in the lab.